Thank you very much for tuning. So, how can you even get cancer? We have discussed this. You can get cancer if you are exposed to a whole lot of issues. If you are exposed to the human papillomavirus, you are exposed to race, if you are exposed to some chemicals. Remember, cancer is abnormal growth of your cells, your body cells. Sister Rosa, I hope you're doing great. Having intercourse, can you actually get cancer by having intercourse? We need to understand here that we are talking specifically to cervical cancer. So this question is going specifically to cervical cancer because cervical cancer is cancer of the cervix, and cervix is the inner part of the vagina. So we are talking specifically to cervical cancer. If having intercourse can lead to cervical cancer, because cervical cancer, for you to have it, it has to lead with you probably having intercourse. Yeah, first year, I really don't believe you're going to pick up something. You're going to learn something. That's for sure. 1 minute, please. Hey, Sister LC, welcome. This is the first time you're meeting me live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much. So, cervical cancer, breast cancer, the number one thing that exposes you to whatsoever type of cancer is smoking. So if you're a smoker, the best thing is that you drop smoking. Stop smoking. That is the best way. Okay, stop smoking. If you're a smoker, if you're drinking a lot, please maybe step down your drinking habit. If you live around smoker, because we have been talking a lot about smokers, some people might say, no, I don't smoke, but you might live with someone who is a smoker. Your brother could be a smoker, your partner could be a smoker. You might be staying around someone who's a smoker. So being a smoker must not necessarily mean that for you to be affected by smoking does not necessarily mean you have to be a smoker yourself. So we need to take special note about this, such that if you're a smoker, please stop it. But if you live around someone who's smoking, then whenever that person is smoking, please, you step away from that person. Okay, yeah, stepping away from that person will help you greatly. Because a lot of people will say, hey, come on, no, I don't smoke. But you live around someone who is a smoker. And maybe that person is your partner. So you could see the gap here. And if you are somebody who drinks a lot, please step it down. And I did mention last time that thing that can also expose you is what you eat. Okay, what you eat. You know, we have a lot of chemical food nowadays. We eat a lot of food that contains fertilizers, right? You have your natural food that you can eat. You also have those food that will probably be enhanced by fertilizers. So eating this natural food is a way of you reducing cancer. And taking fruits in particular, like guayabano, like apples, like oranges, all of that reduces your risk of having cancer. Doing exercises also reduces your risk of having cancer. Breastfeeding also reduces your risk of having cancer. I know we have ladies that will say, no, I don't want to breastfeed now. I want to breastfeed my baby. I will just breastfeed my baby maybe just for some months and I stop. Please, breastfeeding is a way of reducing breast cancer. Okay, so you breastfeed, it helps you reduce your risk of breast cancer. Age, so somebody who is older have a higher risk of getting cancer compared to somebody who is younger. So we need to take special note about that. So for today, we are looking at the fact that can having intercourse with your partner lead you to have cancer. That's what we're looking at today. So I would like us to understand that having intercourse can increase your risk to having an infection, which that infection itself leads you to have cancer. and in this case, cervical cancer. So what is that infection here? That infection is one of the most deadly virus you will see around. That is the human papilloma virus. The human papilloma virus is actually the virus that causes more than 70% of all cervical cancer cases. The human papilloma virus causes genital warts. If you don't know what genital warts is, please, you need to just Google the images of genital warts so you look at what genital warts is. So human papilloma virus causes genital warts. Human papilloma virus causes more than 70% of all the cervical cancer cases we have. So what does it mean? That means that there is some linkage between intercourse and cervical cancer, meaning there is a linkage between cervical cancer and sex. But does it mean that having sex leads to cancer? The answer is no. But having intercourse unprotected, you are exposing yourself, you are increasing your risk of you having cervical cancer. Please, that should be taken care of. Take note of this. Having intercourse increases your risk of you having cervical cancer. So if you have intercourse, it increases your risk of you having cervical cancer. But intercourse itself does not cause cervical cancer. Definitely, intercourse itself does not cause cancer, but having intercourse unprotected increases your risk of you having cervical cancer. How does it increase your risk of you having cervical cancer? That is the question. So you need to understand that for you to have cervical cancer, you have more than 70% of your cervical cancer cases being connected to the human papilloma virus. The human papilloma virus itself is a deadly virus, is a deadly sexually transmittable infection that if you have intercourse without protection, you can easily catch this virus. That is why you having intercourse and without protection, you're exposing yourself to this deadly virus. That's the human papilloma virus. And with the human papilloma virus, we have the type 16, we have type 18, we have type 31, we have type 35, type 33, and type 45. These are the most deadly strain of the human papilloma virus. And this strain, fortunately for us, this strain can be actually controlled by you taking the vaccine. So if you take vaccine for human papilloma virus against this human papilloma virus, you're going to protect yourself against the deadly strain, which is the type 16, the type 18, the type 31, the type 33, and type 45. Excuse me. Yes. Sorry guys, sorry. So we are looking at cancer, cervical cancer, if at all having intercourse can cause cancer. And that's why we are looking at cervical cancer specifically, because that is the cancer that you get from within your sexual organs, isn't it? I mean, no. So that's the cancer. That's the cancer you get through your sexual organs, cervical cancer. But the question is, will having intercourse cause cancer? In this particular situation, will having intercourse cause cervical cancer? So that is the question. Sister Magdalene, welcome. Will having intercourse cause cancer? So that's what we're trying to answer. And we are saying that having intercourse can actually increase your risk of you having intercourse, of you having cancer, but it does not cause cancer in itself directly. No, I'm still with the jacket. Is a client. It's a client that came around. So having intercourse will actually increase your risk of having cancer, but it does not cause cancer directly. So I was trying to explain how having intercourse will increase your risk of you having cancer. So having intercourse without protection will increase your risk. This is why, because cervical cancer is mostly caused by the human papilloma virus. The human papilloma virus is actually one of the most deadly viruses that you can find anywhere on the surface earth. The human papilloma virus is the sole cause of cervical cancer, and more than 70% of the cervical cancer cases we have in the world is caused by the human papilloma virus. So you are having human papilloma virus, and there are some strains of human papilloma virus that are more dangerous, that are more likely for you to causing cervical cancer than other strains. So we have the type 16 strain, we have the type 18 strain, we have type 31 strain, we have type 35 strain, type 33 strain, and we have type 45 strain. These strains of the human papilloma virus they are actually the most deadly strains. And I'm saying that fortunately, we have vaccines that will actually hold these people together. So we have vaccines that can protect you against this strain, all of these strains that are deadly. So it's a fortunate thing, it's a good thing, because you can protect yourself against this. You can protect yourself against cervical cancer by taking your vaccine, isn't it? So having intercourse exposes you to having this cancer because of human papilloma virus, which is a deadly contagious sexually transmittable infection. And once you have the human papillomavirus, you are now exposed to cancer. It therefore means you can easily get cervical cancer. So that is the explanation that leads cancer and intercourse. So cancer does not cause, intercourse does not cause cancer directly. It causes cancer through you having the human papillomavirus. Therefore means if you have intercourse without protection, you could pick the human papillomavirus. The human papillomavirus now will now cause cervical cancer. It therefore means having intercourse without protection can lead you to having cervical cancer indirectly. It does not cause it directly, but it causes it indirectly. So this is very important, such that if you are a lady watching, please make sure you go for your cervical cancer screening and avoid having more than one sexual partners. Okay, avoid eating here, eating here, eating here, eating here. Chop for one pan. Okay, eat chop for one pan, learn for chop for one pan. It's very important if you want to avoid this cancer. So please, if you have a question, you go ahead and ask a question. If not, we'll be rounding up. We just wanted something short, just that a client came and interrupts the show. So if you have a question, please you go ahead and ask a question. Yes, you should be protecting. Sister Rosea asking, so we go protect all the times. Yes, you should be protecting all the time. If you know your partner status, if you and your partner you'll be running your STDs, it's okay. You can have it without protection. But if you're having a new sexual partner, then you should be protecting yourself against. Then you should be protecting yourself against any sexually transmittable infection, and in this case, protecting yourself against the human papillomavirus. Since you know, there are some type of food that you need to eat every day. Okay, there are some type of food that you need to eat every day. You don't need to change from one food to another. In this case, if you change from one food to another, you might be exposing yourself to one of the most deadly diseases on the planet, if not the most deadly disease, that's cancer. No, you have the right to do, okay. But if you have a new sexual partner, please don't have intercourse with your new sexual partner without protection. If you doubt the partner status, if you have not done your test to be sure about your partner status, then having sex with a new sexual partner may expose you. Okay, it may expose you to having the human papillomavirus. This human papillomavirus now can now lead you to have cervical cancer. Any other question, please? Any other question? Yes. So, like I said, which one is incomplete food? Is it using condoms? Is condom incomplete? Using condom is very important if you want to protect against cervical cancer. Using condom is important. You know, if you expose yourself to the human papillomavirus, this human papillomavirus is a sexually transmittable infection, and it can easily lead you to cervical cancer. So that is why we encourage. That's why we encourage that you that you eat your food while it's being covered. Okay, you have intercourse with protection. Protect yourself against not only human papillomavirus, because though we are talking about human papillomavirus here that causes cervical cancer, the human papillomavirus is just one of the sexually transmittable infections that you can get. if you have intercourse. There is HIV, there is hepatitis B, there's hepatitis C, right? There's mycoplasma, there's chlamydia, there's syphilis. So those are all type of infections you can get, right, if you have intercourse without protection. Any other question, please? You can have any other question related to sexually transmittable infections. Since we are discussing intercourse here and we are also discussing about STDs as a whole, that sexually transmittable infections, please, if you have a question that has to do with sexually transmittable infection, you go ahead and ask your question. We'll try to see how we can answer it. Because we are talking about human papillomavirus that causes cancer, and we are relating it to sex, relating it to intercourse, that having intercourse can lead you to this human papillomavirus. The human papillomavirus now is the virus that causes cancer. So having sex directly does not cause cancer, but it can lead you to having human papillomavirus that causes cancer. And among these human papillomavirus that causes cancer, we have said we have some specific strains. These strains are more likely to cause cancer. So these are the strains that causes cancer directly. That's the type 16, type 18, type 21, type 23, type 31, type 33, and type 45. Okay. Sister Rosea asking a question. Sister Rosa, you are asking if we live man how I go do the do it. I'm not going here, nothing. The truth is that too. You go for checkup. Wow. No, if you can go for checkup every 2 weeks, that is beautiful. If you can go for checkup after 2 weeks, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. That is actually the best way you can protect yourself. Okay. Yeah, going for checkup. If you're going for checkup after 2 weeks with a new sexual partner, that's wonderful. Yeah, you're going to protect yourself completely. So if going for checkup regularly says, without that is if you doubt somebody's status, going for regular checkup to actually be sure to confirm, then that is really beautiful. That is really, really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Actually, this particular STI, that is the human papillomavirus, and we also have syphilis. We also have herpes. These are infections. These are infections that comes with sore. So you have what people normally call night fever. So syphilis comes with a shank. There is something like a sore around here, and it can also appear somewhere else. For human papillomavirus, you have it also with you have genital warts being caused by human papillomavirus. For genital herpes, you also have some type of warts. These infections, they can actually render condoms useless. These infections, they can render condoms useless. So even if you're having intercourse with somebody who is protected with a new sexual partner, I will always advise that the best situation for you is that you always go for your checkup before you actually meet with a new sexual partner. Please avoid meeting with a new sexual partner without going for checkup. The best way is that you go for checkup such that you are pretty sure about the new sexual partners, because like I said, these infections, syphilis, human papillomavirus, genital herpes, they can render condoms useless. Means that if you use the condom, you cannot still protect against them, because What if you have a sore here, you can pick it with your mouth? Not a new sexual partner, even we love in the same house, we live in the same house, we still go for checkup. I don't trust this gender that have three. Okay, sis, that is true. That is true. As men, we don't also trust you people. As men, we don't also trust you people. So it's true. You don't trust us. You don't have to trust any human. Human beings are not to be trusted. We trust only the Almighty God. So you are right. You are right. Go for your regular screening, no matter who the person is. Okay, go for your regular screening. I used to advise that divide the calendar year by 3. You say every after 4 months you go for checkup. Every after 4 months you go for checkup. It's very important. If you have your money to do it 4 times a year, that would be beautiful. 4 times mean that every after 3 months you go for checkup. Every after 3 months you go for checkup. So depending on how financially strong you are, you can go for your checkup regularly. Sister Festia, are you still there? So any other question, please? Any other question? So we have been talking about cancer as a whole. Cancer as a whole, we've been talking about cancer as a whole, and we are looking at, will sexual intercourse cause cancer? And we have explained that sexual intercourse in itself will not cause cancer directly, but having sex without protection will actually expose you to a sexually transmittable infection called the human papillomavirus. This human papillomavirus is a virus that causes cervical cancer. It therefore means that having sex without protection can lead you to cervical cancer indirectly. So we are advising that having sex without protection should be avoided, especially if you don't know your partner status. So if you know your partner status, it's okay, but you will need checkup such that having intercourse now will you will have a better protection for it. And I said we have strains of this human papillomavirus that will cause cervical cancer directly. So we have the 16, we have the 18, we have the 31, 33, and 45 strains. So these strains are strains that will cause cervical cancer directly. So we all need to protect against this. And the best way to protect against it is having intercourse with someone you are actually sure, someone you know the status. If you don't know someone's status, please do well to go for your checkup and you know your status before you actually indulge yourself into direct sexual contact. Sister Rosa, you're saying something? Sister Ashanti, welcome. Good evening to you, sis. I don't know, Sister Rosa, is this a question or you're giving a point? Sister Ashanti, how are you doing? Welcome. Mama Ashanti, welcome. Sister Rosa, I don't know, is it a question that you're asking or you're trying to point out something? Okay. Yeah, you are right. Incubation period for infections differ, but whether you are a man or you are a woman, infections that will stay longer will also stay longer in your body, and infection with incubation period that are very long could be disastrous, because if an infection has an incubation period for a very long time, it therefore means that by the time you are infected, you won't know that you are infected. You only know when this infection has destroyed you. Okay, and this is so scary. This is so scary. So I advise everyone to always do your checkup, and you're pretty sure about yourself before you indulge into sexual intercourse. So just like our sister said, you could be like, okay, now you're a man and everything is okay. No, come on. Before you know it, this infection has eaten you up, and when you start seeing signs and symptoms, it has gone deep. Especially something that has to do with cancer. So we just need to be very careful. So is there any question? So we have been discussing cervical cancer, we have been discussing cancer as a whole, and we are niching it down, breaking it down to cervical cancer because of the fact that cervical cancer is linked to our sexual organs, and we are looking at how cancer can actually, if cancer is related to sexual intercourse. Sister Festia, I don't know if you're asking a question or you're saying something. Nonetheless, I really want to appreciate everyone for being here. If there is no other question, I will be closing with my closing remark. So thank you so much for being here. So we have been looking at how intercourse, sexual intercourse is connected with cancer. And we have said that sexual intercourse is connected with cervical cancer. Reason being that cervical cancer is mainly caused by the human papillomavirus. The human papillomavirus is a virus that causes cervical cancer. And we have specific strains of the human papillomavirus that is also linked to cancer directly. These strains are strain 16. We have 16, we have 18, we have 31, 35, 33, and 45. So these strains are the strains that will most likely cause you cervical cancer. So having intercourse without protection will lead you to human papillomavirus, which is a sexually transmitted infection. And this sexually transmitted infection, if it is type 16, type 18, or type 31, 33, or 45, you can easily get cervical cancer from there. So sex does not cause cervical cancer, but it exposes you or increases the risk. If you have intercourse without protection, it increases the risk for you to have cervical cancer. So thank you so much for being here. Sister Festia, thank you so much. Sister Rosa, may God bless you. Thank you so much. Mama Ashanti, thank you so much for being here. May God bless you. I really do appreciate. So please keep safe, stay safe, and do have a wonderful time. Thank you all.